Manchester City have just been smashed at the Bernabeu, but what went wrong for us? The truth is nearly everything went wrong, and I'm going to try and break it down in more detail for you guys in this video. But what was Pep Guardiola thinking with the starting lineup? And I actually don't think the starting lineup was that bad. I'm not going to criticize him for the starting lineup because I think it kind of makes sense in theory. And I'm going to show you guys what I think I mean on the tactics board, right? Because but team building starts with Kushnov. You want Kushnov on the pitch to be able to mitigate the pace of Vinicius Jr. And I think that's a fair decision. You want Diaz for the box defending as well. So you go with the more defensive back three. I think that's fair. You think Real Madrid are going to set up in a 4-4-2. We want the +1 for security at the back. But the problem is Kushnov is really poor offensively. He's not going to overlap and get high like Nunes would in this position, and the forward can go inside. Therefore, you can't really play a Cherki, a Foden, that type of player off the right-hand side. It has to be a wide touchline winger, and the only option for that we have is Savinho. So if you want to play Kushnov at right back to deal with Vinicius Jr., Savinho has to start off this side because he's the only guy that is going to hold the width. He's going to be isolated and try and get these 1v1 situations with Mendy. And then on the other side, Doku has to play, right? You want that battle against Trent. I thought Doku was quite good yesterday, and especially for the first 20 minutes, I thought this worked really well. Madrid in the 4-4-2, we could get the ball to Rodri. Rodri's first thought every time is, can I play this ball over to Doku? And he could a lot. We could get Doku on the ball effectively. He could bring it down. Trent wasn't that tight. He had time to attack the box in these areas, get in here, get 1v1 with Trent, a battle that he won, and he put some good crosses into the box, right? First 10 minutes, he was getting byline, cutting it back. And we were relatively secure as well. I don't think we were that bad defensively first 20 minutes because Real Madrid are in the back four. We only have to commit 5, and then Bernardo can stay back deeper and give Rodri some help in the midfield. Was it a really robust midfield? No, but it was okay, right? And I think this lineup makes sense in terms of having Semenyo in the 10 and O'Reilly push into this space here, because I think Pep Guardiola has been criticised a lot for not having a creative player in the middle, but the logic of this lineup is you're going with the wingers nearly every time, and they're going to win their 1v1 battles, so you want box crashers. Semenyo is a great finisher, a great box crasher, same with O'Reilly, same with Haaland. The idea is these guys are going to get on the end of the crosses, which makes sense, and it did make sense for the first 20 minutes, and I'm going to show you what I mean with some in-game screenshots here, because we were getting Doku in these situations, right? We're playing quickly, we're playing forwards. He can go this way, he can go this way. He's going to cook Trent, and he does cook Trent here. He gets to the byline, and I think he puts a good cross in. Yeah, he does. There he goes. Great crossing. Good situation for Doku. We're moving quickly. We're moving vertically. Puts in a nice, dangerous ball. No one gets on the end of it. But you can see here, right? O'Reilly's box crashing. Haaland's box crashing. Semenyo's box crashing. These are the players you want in the box because they have good box instincts. Here's another one. Doku again. Notice how Trent isn't tight. Trent's having to come out to Doku. He's got space to receive it. And then he can drive at Trent, gets to the byline, puts in another good ball. Again, no one at the end of it. But O'Reilly box crashing. Semenyo box crashing. Haaland box crashing. The guys you want in the box are there. Another example where move vertically, get Doku isolated with Trent 1v1. Again, he cooks him, get to the byline. I think Valverde blocks this one. But again, it's really, really good direct play from Doku. And just notice the contrast here, because Real Madrid scored the goal that we will analyse later, but they made a change around the 20th minute to stop Doku because they realised we don't have creative threat in here, right? They don't need this 4 to try and stop passes coming through because they're not particularly worried about that ball because O'Reilly's not really good enough to be able to do anything with it in there. Same, likewise, they're not worried about that ball to Semenyo, that ball to Haaland, because these guys aren't going to create from these positions because they're finishers. They realised that our only threat was Doku because Savinho's not creating anything on the other side. He was god-awful. So they just moved Valverde back into this line, went 5 at the back instead. And once you're in this position, they have this 3. They're not worried about those passes there, so they can be a bit looser in the midfield. And just like that, now every time Doku wants to get the ball, he's receiving it out wide and someone's really tied to him. It's a difficult situation for Doku to create in. 2v1 in these positions, he's not really got much help. There's not a lot we can do. And here's an example of that, right? Think about the positions he was getting the ball before. Like here, that's a really dangerous, good position. And compare that to when Real Madrid switched. They started going into more of a low block. You can see the back 5 there. and then this is a 3. And now Trent is so tight to Doku as soon as he gets the ball. They made it really difficult for him. He's not in those dangerous areas in the penalty, around the penalty area, and that basically stopped us creating anything. And this is where I think you can start to criticise Pep Guardiola, because you could see this wasn't working. After about the 20th minute, Madrid completely shut us down offensively, but this change of going to the back 5 also causes massive defensive problems as well, because now they're a back 5, you can't go 5v5 against the back line. The number one rule of football is that you always need an overload, and that means we have to start pushing Bernardo Silva up into this back line too. And because they've got this front 2, we want to be +1 at the back, because you don't want to go 2v2 with Vinicius Jr. and Diaz. It just leaves Rodri on an island in midfield by himself to cover all this distance, and then on transition every single time Real Madrid win the ball back in here, and then they've got a 3v1 against Rodri right in here. They've got a 5v1, arguably, if you include Vinicius Jr. and Diaz. He was just completely overran on transition, and it made it really easy for Madrid to just progress the ball up the pitch really, really quickly. And I just think Guardiola's got to change something here, right? You've got to adapt as soon as you can see this isn't working at all, because nothing was going to change here. As soon as they shut down Doku, we had no creative threat, and we also couldn't defend anything. And I think the change was Cherki. The obvious change was Cherki. And if we look at the impact Cherki had when he came on, it was an interesting one, because I don't think he created loads. He created a little bit, but what he did do was force Madrid to drop back into a 5-4-1 instead of a 5-3-2, and this is significant because you can see here they've got the 5 at the back here, and then they've got this 4. And this is important because it means Vinicius Jr. is now by himself up front. Just by bringing Cherki on, you've made them retreat back a bit, because they're now scared of these spaces. They know they have to cut out these passes, because if you have Cherki in there instead of, let's just say, Semenyo, for example. If I can find Cherki, there he is. Yeah, if you have Cherki in here instead of someone like Semenyo, now this line-breaking pass is dangerous into Cherki. Cherki in the ball in these situations will create something, so you have to stop it from getting to him. And what this does is now they've just got Vinny Jr. up front, you can push a Guehi up next to a Rodri, give Rodri some help in the midfield, and help stop these transitions happening so easily. And I think we had to make that change early. The fact that Cherki came on the pitch in, what, the 70th minute is outrageous. How he didn't come on at half-time is unbelievable. I think we should have made the change like 30th minute, absolute latest. When you go 2-0 down, you can see it's not working. You've got to adapt, and we didn't adapt. We were too stubborn in this game, and I think because of that stubbornness, we're out of the Champions League. Yes, in theory, it made sense, but it just didn't work. Like O'Reilly as well. I understand that Rodri shouldn't have been by himself. The idea is you've got O'Reilly, physical. You had Semenyo in here, right? He's a physical player. But it just didn't work like that. Like, there were clear pressing issues, and I think that's just because of the role Valverde played. It was so clever. Like, if we look here, we've got the ball in the midfield. Valverde is back in the back 5 here. Quite happy. O'Reilly can be here, and you think, oh, you can be the midfielder, but you can't, because as soon as Real Madrid win the ball back, look at Valverde, he's sprinting up, and what this does is it drags Nico O'Reilly back to defend this position instead of being in the midfield, and just leaves us really, really exposed. And I'm going to continue to blame Pep Guardiola now, because we're going to talk about the pressing, and the pressing in this game was awful. And when I first watched it live, I thought this was a personnel thing. The pressing was not a personnel thing, it was a very structural thing, and it was terrible all across the pitch. And we've seen the diamond press not work consistently against the better teams, and that was no exception today, because it's far too safe. I think for me, that's what it comes down to. Far too safe. We can see here we've got the back 4 for City, we've got our diamond shape in the middle here, and then you've got diamond shape in the middle here, and then you've got this front kind of 3, right? And the problem with this press is that the stress on these wide positions of this second line of pressing from Doku and Savinho, it's such a difficult role to play, to the point where you need elite pressers in this role if you want it to work. Savinho and Doku are not elite pressers, and Real Madrid just exploited that relentlessly throughout this game. For example, if the ball comes wide here from Courtois to Dean Huijsen, it is Savinho's job to try and close that down. That's a ridiculous distance to try and cover, while also having to cover the central space. And we saw that all throughout the game. We just got exposed. This here, Courtois got the ball, plays it out wide to Ferland Mendy. Savinho has to try and cover it. He's way too slow here to get over to it, to what you need to be. And I will reiterate again, this isn't necessarily Savinho's fault. It is just a very, very difficult position to play. But nevertheless, he's far too slow out for it. Mendy can get his head up. He can play that ball. He can play that ball because they've just overloaded everyone wide. I think Bernardo's got to get over faster here. I think not Rodri's. No, anyway, someone's got to get over faster. You have to jump faster. There has to be a bit more aggressiveness to it because it was far too safe. We were too concerned about the pace of Vinicius Jr. to commit bodies forward properly, and that just let Real Madrid play through us easily every single time. Luckily here, I think Mendy slips or something and he doesn't get to play forward, but the opportunity was absolutely there. And in this is again from the first half, actually. This is the second goal, I think. Yeah, it is. Mendy has the ball here. We see the same thing again. Savinho, far too slow to get out to him. Mendy can play here. He can play here because Rodri hasn't shifted across fast enough. You've got to cut out one of those balls. Ball progresses down the line. They find Diaz in this nice pocket of space. He can drive forward comfortably because no one's jumped with him because, again, we're so scared of Vinicius Jr. And Vinny Jr. does get the ball out wide eventually. What's he going to do? He's going to do what he's brilliant at. He's going to drive at us. And we get a bit unlucky, I think, here. It takes a deflection off Diaz and goes through to Valverde. And again, Nico Riley, for me, he's got to be tighter with him here. He's in a nice position here. He just lets Valverde get away from him. You've got to put the pressure on to block the shot because obviously Valverde scores, which is ideal, but it comes from terrible pressing and what I think is a bad structural pressing setting. And we can see that the pressing issues just carried on in the second half, even when we changed the personnel around. Semenyo dropped back into that really difficult pressing position that Savinho was in the first half, and Reinders came on and took Semenyo's position at the head of the press next to Erling Haaland. But the issues were the same because this was a structural problem. The diamond press is too safe. It does not work against better opposition. Yes, it's fine against your Newcastle when they're not going to play out even if they have an extra man because they're not good enough. But Real Madrid, when you give them an overload because you want +1 at the backs, you're concerned about Vinicius Jr., will play through you. And they did play through us consistently. You can see here, Bernardo's the one guy. They've got an overload, 2v1 on Bernardo Silva. Awful situation straight away. But just tell me, what is Reinders doing here? You're not closing anything down. You're not blocking off a passing lane. Same thing with Haaland, right? You're just letting him knock it into the middle, and that's exactly what he does. He plays the easy ball into Pritchard, turns Bernardo Silva. He can then play to the free man in Dean Huijsen. Reinders then tries to close him down. Again, another free man dropping in because if we rewind, Rodri is here. They have 2 players on Rodri. It's another overload because Semenyo's had to jump. It's overloads all across the pitch. Rodri's 2v1 again, knocks it back into Tchouaméni, and just like that, you've played through our press. It's so comfortable because you can see in this screenshot, we want this situation at the back, which I can understand why we want it, but I think against the better teams, you have to take the risk. You have to just go man to man if you're going to try and press them, because otherwise they will play through you like this when you give them a 2-man overload, including the goalkeeper. And this is the third goal. It's not really a pressing situation, but it's very similar. It's transitional, right? It's so easy for Courtois, balls it out wide here. And then they're running at us again. Vinicius Jr., he can play him through because they've overloaded the wide area where we're very, very weak. Vinny Jr., bodies Kushnov, carries the ball, and then we get to this moment. And I think this is really unlucky, if I'm honest, from Marc Guéhi, because you can see he's scanning at the pivotal moment. Valverde is made the run forwards. Guéhi's scanning, he's not looking. I think Rodri should track this run as well. Someone's got to track this Valverde run. It's a great goal, but it shouldn't happen. It's awful defending. Someone's got to track the run. Rodri's not scanning. He doesn't know he's made the run. Rodri should track this run with him. He could go with him there, stop this goal. Guéhi's just unlucky. He scans at the pivotal moment, which means he gets there slightly too late. Valverde dinks it over him. Bang, goal. Great goal, terrible defending. Rodri's just stood watching. Rodri should track this run. It's really, really poor from him. But I think it's structural issues that have cost us in this game because they could continually play through our press, continuously get in behind us, use Vinicius Jr., and we couldn't do anything about it. Not making changes earlier, should have brought Cherki on, should have maybe brought Nunes on. So just everything went wrong, basically, and I hope that's given you guys a clearer picture of everything that did go wrong.